Who's coming through the warrior's line? A dragging ship out for the fight. Sons of glowing fire in their veins, unyielding might. Facing no pain, ashes swinging swords of all the soldiers now with their set. Colors of thunder with hearts of flame. Ride together in forcing. Battle cries echo through the night. Fighting warriors born to fight. Born to fight. Fighting warriors born to fight. Born to fight.
Welcome to the Dragon Ship, ladies and gentlemen, gentlemen and ladies, all of you. Welcome to another Saturday episode of the Dragon Ship. Today I'm taking the reins, well, because let's face it, you guys can't even really see me, so it's good. I could say a bunch of shit and I could get away with it. But today we got RP Thor, we got AJ, the motorcycle helmet wearing detailing god. We got a guest of Unplugged Christianity. He's hanging out with some heathens today. We got Mike Steele and the gayest dating coach in Philadelphia, the Hudsman. Yes, he's really gay. Well, not him, but his dating coach style's gay. Today, guys, we are talking about heroes. We're going to talk about why you shouldn't meet your heroes. You know, since the beginning of time, we have heard stories of great leaders, warriors, kings, queens that people would look up to. In modern times, we have celebrities, comic book heroes. We have movie characters, athletes, musicians, maybe even some politicians that people look up to. We got influencers such as Andrew Tate. We got heroes like Captain America that will pedestalize them. We end up making deities out of these people who breathe the same air as us. We take fragments of what they let us see of them, and we decide that this is who they are, these bits and pieces, these sound bites, these little clips and snippets of time. And with this little bit of information, we decide that we are going to elevate them above human status. We end up having this opinion of them without even knowing them. We think that just because we see them on the screen from time to time, that we know who they really are when the camera is off. The problem is that we end up having a covert contract with them. We end up thinking that they are a certain way and that they would treat us a certain way because of what we think of them online. And what ends up happening is that we fail them as much as that they failed us, because we put these unrealistic expectations upon them, and we feel let down when they didn't do anything to let us down to begin with. Why do we do that? Why do we make heroes out of men, out of women? Why do we look outside of ourself to be the hero? Why do we need someone else to be the hero of our own story? Why aren't we the hero of our own story? Well, today, as we board the dragon ship, we are going to discuss just this. We are going to discuss how you could adopt a dominant masculine presence, and by doing so, become your very own hero with 7 steps. 7 traits that Thor writes about in his book will help lead you to become your own hero. So let me bring the panel up once again. Gentlemen.
Hey, you guys. What's going on? We have some new members here. Oh, somebody's getting a little bit of feedback. Who's got
Nick, get it together.
Always me, man.
It's the new guy, so he could go first, Glenn.
Yeah. All right, Nick. So what's going on, man? Introduce yourself. Who are you? What the hell do you want? And what do we want to listen to you?
Well, I used to be a pastor. I'm not a pastor anymore. I'm a red-pilled Christian. So I became unplugged going through my false domestic violence, getting thrown under the bus by the church. Yeah. So I got some wisdom from the Bible and also some red pill stuff. So that's why you can listen to me.
Yeah, sounds like you're whining. Anyways,
Yeah, whatever.
Mike Steele, how
Put me on
you
the
been
spot,
doing, my
then, thanks.
friend? Hey, Nick, and for the meantime, until we get you some ear plugs or headphones, go to mute your mic.
Just mute me.
Thank you. Sound annoying. Just all these rookie guys always make these rookie mistakes.
Glenn, you're supposed to test them out before they get here.
I know he's doing so well on my
Bastard
channel. I
arms.
don't know why he decided to drop the ball today. No, I'm kidding. Mike Steele, how you doing, man? What's been going on with you?
I've been doing just fine. Just work, a whole bunch of industry stuff going on with the government and all that, but nothing I can't handle. I guess my question for you is, what is our definition of a hero? Because is it anyone we look up to? Is it anyone that we respect or feel mentored or coached by? Because if that's the case, I've met many of my heroes, and I would say about half of them are no disappointment to me. So I guess maybe we should define a hero first.
Okay, how would you define a hero? How would you define a hero, Mike?
My father's my number one hero, and so as I got older, yes, it became more apparent to me that my father is just a man like any other man. But as I learned more about my father and about my birth mother and how their marriage broke apart, the reason why my dad did what he did started to make sense. So I grew up with one of my heroes, and so there wasn't like a meet a hero and get disappointed point in time there. But maybe my definition of a hero is just someone that, I don't know, all the people that I consider to be my heroes are dead. George Washington, Teddy Roosevelt, Leonidas. Like, those are my heroes, and they're dead.
I thought I was your hero. I thought you told me that when you first met me in Vegas. You said, Glenn, you're my hero. And you said, Thor, you're my hero. Well, neither of us are dead yet. So what the hell? We chop liver?
You are my coaches and mentors and friends.
I think we should pull it
like
back.
hero.
The way that I would define a hero is anybody that you look up to and has given you advice that has transformed your life. When I look at a panel like this, it kind of blows my mind because back with like Rule Zero and before that, when it was Red Man Group, that I viewed those people as heroes, and now I get to stand among them. So this topic in and of itself is kind of, it rings something to me. It's just interesting, like how those that you viewed higher than or knowing more than you end up being able to stand on the same stage and have those same conversations without looking at them like those celebrities, as you were saying, Glenn.
Interesting Huds, it's kind of like a rising tide lifts all ships, right? And then you get invited on the dragon ship for the grand adventure. Guys, how about if I take a stab at it? So,
Of course.
let me just define it.
Who else other than Thor, the god of thunder, to actually talk about what a hero is?
A person who is maybe admired, idealized for their courage and bravery, achievements or noble qualities, ability to mentor, someone who's done something brave or good and didn't want to. That means they were opposed to doing it and put a position where they had to rise to the occasion. So also a person that's distinguished by exceptional courage, nobility, or fortitude for what is right, or at least what is viewed as right, or what is the right thing to do. Someone who saves someone's lives or provides knowledge to make others better. That's what I would consider a hero. But it also crosses a line in there. I was reading the first part from the dictionary and it said mentor was in there. So kind of like what Hud said, and sometimes your mentors can become your heroes, or your brothers can be, depending on what they do in certain circumstances and situations. So that's how I would define it for you guys. Does that sound about right?
I would agree.
Yeah, I'd agree with Thor there. And then I think where Glenn's trying to get at with the title of this episode is when you start getting that unhealthy pedalization of your quote unquote mentors or heroes. And like when they fuck up and you're like, oh shit, they fucked up, but I'm still going to back them. That's where it starts to get unhealthy, I think.
Yeah,
Not
where I was
everybody's
getting at
Jesus.
is when we get to the point where we don't end up, really vetting them anymore. Before they become your hero, we kind of vet them to make sure that they are of quality, that like what they're saying is factual or truthful to us, or something that we want to adapt to. We don't necessarily, like, even if it's something that they're doing, their actions, we have to first make sure that what they're doing is something that we actually agree with, or that falls in our worldview or our belief system, right? And then we tend to like mirror them. We want to, like, a lot of young kids were trying to become, like the perfect example, Sneeko, right? Sneeko wanted to be Andrew Tate. He was inspired by Andrew Tate. Has been this man's hero. Andrew Tate has led this man to change religions. Sneeko had genuine desire for Andrew Tate to the point where he mimicked and mirrored his talking points, his delivery, and even changed religions over time for this man, all due to Andrew Tate's influence on him.
Yeah, Glenn, I think you bring up a good point, but this is where we got to clarify the definition. Is everywhere I looked, as far as defining hero, even as most people say it, does not mention role model. However,
no, it doesn't.
I think that we cross that line constantly, and that's probably a good thing, because we've used heroes that sometimes have struggled through life and did something great as a role model for others. I mean, we've published books on this. We've created the hero's journey for storytelling. And so it's almost synonymous now that hero equates to role model, even though when I looked through the definition, it was never mentioned. So just thought I'd put that out, because I think that's where you were going with it. And it was a good point.
Yeah, we tend to make them like we kind of use them as our mental point of origin. We tend to process information based off of what either they would do or what we think they would do. There was a bracelet, and I know Nick would know this because growing up in the church, there was a bracelet that would say WWJD, what would Jesus do? And you would wear that bracelet, and when you would look at it, and whenever you would act the fool, you're like, well, would Jesus do this? It was a way to kind of keep you in line, right? But for Christians, Jesus is their hero, right? In that sense, and he's their savior. So you could understand why they would do that. But we tend to do that same thing with people. And we tend to look and lean on people rather than look within ourselves. And Thor, your book that you wrote, you talk about these 7 characteristics. Would you call them, or 7 traits?
It's the skills. It's the 7 skills of a dominant masculine presence. And by the way, I actually include a whole section on WWTD.
What
And
would
why
Thor
it's
do?
so effective, and why that campaign was so effective, and why you do want to mirror some of these heroes. You do want to adopt certain traits and characteristics, which I list in the book, of these heroes to complete your identity as you're moving forward, because you want to adopt the good things that you see. Now, some people want to adopt the bad things because they think it's cool and all that sort of thing. But the important part about all of us, we're constantly redefining our identity. And as a result, our character solidifies and we create a charisma. And through my research, what I ended up coming up with is that every dominant masculinely present man that I've researched here, and some of them you wouldn't think of, Glenn, as your hero, corporate giants, world's richest men, actors, just politicians, just somebody that is relatively famous. You start to look at them, and rather than break them down into the social sexual hierarchy of alphas, betas, all those sort of things, I noticed that they all had something in common if they were at the top of their game, regardless of where they fell on the socio-sexual hierarchy, and that they had at least 3 of the 7 skills of a dominant masculine presence, and they were above average in 3 of those. And what they are these are the 7 skills: physicality, psychology, presence, problem solving, prosperity, power, and passion. Okay, Thor, so what are those? Those are skill sets. So just like it sounds, physicality is just like it sounds. So to be physical and functional on an above average level doesn't mean you become a bodybuilder. But if you have that skill and that has been ingrained into your identity, that's really important. Now, combine that with something like problem solving, which is the ability to learn, see problems and possibilities and probabilities, and move forward with those, know how to solve problems. You can combine that with something like presence, and you end up with someone like Brandon Carter, who is a dominant masculine presence, and he's above average at least 3 of those. Now, there's more in there, such as power. And the way I describe power as a skill, I think you'll all find very interesting that many heroes actually have, is the ability by force of will to shape reality to their benefit and to the benefit of others. So your ability to influence outcomes socially or personally is an important skill to have, and I define that as power. It's personal power, and it's the ability to project that power out into the world in order to create something. So also passion. You guys know guys that have all these skills, but they suck at passion. That's an important place to go, because the counterpart to passion is also compassion. So these skills are pretty damn.
Thor, you muted.
Somehow it lost his audio.
Yeah, the mute button on him was it.
My hands were up here the whole time.
It's probably Glenn button pushing again. Like
I'm
all
not
Yeah,
pushing
damn,
any
Glenn.
buttons. I didn't do anything this
all
time. I swear. It wasn't me.
I don't know, son. I mean, where's my hammer? I'm going to smash those fingers.
I hid it from you, so you can't use it.
I don't know where I left off, but these 7 skills, you only need to be above average in 3. But boy, if you could capitalize on 4 and capitalize on 5, now you're starting to look at the top of the line. Hero.
So let's kind of. I have a couple questions before we dive into those 7. I wanted to get to the guys with the 7, but has there been, have you made a hero out of anybody that you knew, like whether it's a celebrity, or like nowadays it's like an influencer, or like a musician or an actor? Like, did you guys have a hero growing up? Who did you guys like wanted to be like?
The best example I can think of, and I was a child, so I'm not sure if this really counts. I don't do this anymore, but when I was a child, I loved Star Trek, and obviously Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Oh,
Captain Jean-Luc Picard and Riker. Those two are like the top alphas, right? Up there with Kirk. So when I was very
Kirk
young,
is king. Kirk is king.
so I was very young, living in Hawaii, and I met Patrick Stewart, and he was a colossal prick. Now, that was earlier in his career, and if you actually watch the behind-the-scenes documentary of how Patrick Stewart's personality changed throughout the entire series of Star Trek, he started out a prick, and then he calmed down and became much more personable. But I met him when I was a little kid at the time in seasons 1 and 2 when he was a colossal prick. And so that's my impression of Patrick Stewart at that snapshot in time. But I was a child. So I'm not sure if that counts. I'm definitely not disappointed with any of my mentors, like, Donovan Sharp, Glenn, Thor, or any of these other guys. So maybe then you're not my hero, because
There is a difference.
There is a hero because
I don't want to be your hero.
Because I'm not trying to be you. That's the difference, I think. And I think maybe that's the difference between being a boy and being a man, is I'm not trying to be you. And maybe that's something that Sneeko is dealing with. Maybe Sneeko, for example, is not his own man yet. And so he's trying to be Tate instead of taking a few good things about Tate and bringing them into his own life and being Sneeko.
And I'm not trying to take anything away from Tate, because I don't know the man personally, and I'm not going to just judge him on based off of everything that we see in the media at all. Like, I'm not gonna go that route. But what I would get at is that, we tend to, in this space, we seem to tend to just naturally follow people. We've always like to follow a leader. We naturally just tend to follow a leader. And if anything in this space should teach you, is you need to become your own leader.
Mm-hmm.
Take the information that is provided to you and apply it to your life the way that you see fit, not so much what someone else sees fit. Right? And like, nobody's going around saying, what would Glenn do? If they did, they were stupid. But
because you make a lot of stupid decisions. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, like becoming friends with you, the gay dating coach of Philly. But it's like, but we do that, right? We end up elevating these voices and these people, that we don't know, into these like leadership or leader roles or hero status, without really knowing whether or not that they are worthy of that position. And then when they let us down, we feel like they betrayed us, but really we put these false expectations on them.
Yeah.
AJ, I got a good story for that, actually. Similar to Mike. So this is like going back to the early 2000s. I'm in high school, and this is how far back the political influence of schooling goes. My high school honors history teacher praised the shed Bernie Sanders. Fast forward between my junior and senior year of high school, I got selected to go to Boise State to represent my high school. I grew up in Vermont. So it's pretty much state government organized by like 3 or 4 kids from each high school. And Bernie Sanders happened to come there because he was at the time, the representative of Vermont. Met him, complete flaming douchebag. Fucking changed my whole political outlook on life since I was like 16, 17. So yeah.
I could tell he was a douchebag from a mile away. What took you so long?
Well, because growing up in Vermont, they're like praising him. Oh, Bernie Sanders is doing so much for the working man. He's doing so much for the working man. That motherfucker hasn't done shit for anyone in Vermont. Fucking buys a second house while my parents are struggling to pay for their mortgage. Go fuck yourself, Bernie.
Yep. Hey, it's interesting that somebody who was perceived as a hero, who actually has a dominant masculine presence when you set all the rest aside, and who's really famous, actually capitalized on this concept about your heroes. You guys know who it is? You all know who it is.
Schwarzenegger.
Who wrote a book on this? No. It was Tony Robbins.
George Campbell?
No, Tony Robbins. He wrote the book, I Am Not Your Guru. And I turned it into a documentary. You guys haven't seen that?
No, sir.
I haven't seen it, but
I won't go into the detail, but he actually, in this concept about heroes, did a documentary on this because he's turned his skill set into a multi-billion-dollar empire. And because of that, a lot of people idolized him, and the hero part became idol worship. And this is common to move your hero from hero status into idol worship.
Yes, and that's like we make them a deity in a sense.
Right. Even a just below average deity, still a deity.
And then when they fail us, we kind of get upset. Like when they fail us, we end up holding them like, how dare they? They betrayed us for some reason when they didn't owe us anything. We put these false expectations upon them. But the question is, and you know what? It's interesting. I had a conversation with Base Oracle, and I seen him in the chat. It was like, he was like, never meet your heroes. And I was like, bro, it was just like that when we were having this conversation. And it was like, he stimulated the thought and the question of, why do we make people our heroes? Why do we just seem to naturally fall towards a leader or a hero or someone else rather than become it ourselves? Is it because we feel that we are inadequate, that we're not capable of being our own hero?
Kind of got a theory for this, if you'd let me, because I'm in the middle of reading Dread by Ryan Stone, and in Bolton Frame and Dread, he kind of goes over NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, being the male disease per se, and like through the last 3 or 4 generations of Western society, we have made it so that being masculine is bad. So that healthy bit of narcissism that makes us our own hero is being pushed out of us because we must automatically think any form of narcissism is bad.
Yeah, that's not true, right?
Yeah. So let me go back to the question of like, Huds, who was your childhood hero? Was it Minnie Mouse?
I didn't really. So that's like the aspect of it that I can't really like speak on. I didn't really have a childhood hero. It wasn't until my arrest and that entire situation of having to move home with my parents while I was dealing with that my heroes really did become the Red Man Group and then Rule Zero. And it's interesting, like as I've grown, when we talk about that mental point of origin, it was not too long ago that I was able to meet Donovan Sharp in person for the first time. And yes, I was still nervous, but I was nervous not because oh my God, like this, it's Donovan. It was more like, I want to make sure that like I'm presenting myself the best I can present myself. Whereas I remember this so distinctly, like especially like being here talking right now. I remember this so distinctly where I was in my bed at my parents' house. They were doing a call-in show on whether it was Red Man Group or Rule Zero at the time. And I saw some like other guys calling in. Like one of the guys was taking a walk outside his house, like just whatever. And he was on there talking just fine to everybody. And I wanted to call in so bad, but I was too nervous to do so because I viewed these people as way above me. I didn't feel that way when I met Donovan. I haven't felt that way when I've done interviews or shows with other people anymore. I still get nervous, but I get nervous just because I want to do my best because I owe that to them and to everybody else. But it's that mental point of origin that I think is such a, that boy to man. Boys think that way, but men don't. I think there's something
that's actually
there.
really, yeah. I think I really do
Notes
think
on
there's
that
something
for
there.
fathers later. I have notes on that
Yeah.
for fathers later. Yeah.
Unplug Christianity.
All right,
Nick,
can you hear me, guys?
yes,
Can you hear me?
Nicholas, we can hear you.
All right, good.
We can hear you loud and
All
clear.
right, so I got my audio figured out good. Oh, so my
Good.
childhood heroes, I was a big.
Let me
big
guess,
into collecting,
Samson. Was it Samson?
No,
He was
I didn't
mine.
go to church that much as a kid. Come on. It was like, that's back when you had, baseball cards are still a thing. So my friends and I, we collect these baseball cards. So like some of my favorite, my heroes I looked up for were baseball players like Jeff Bagwell, Barry Bonds,
Don Mattingly,
Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, Ken Griffey Jr., Frank Thomas, those are my heroes.
All the guys that use steroids, like me.
Yeah, that's kind of a
No, I'm
letdown
kidding.
growing up,
And
and hearing stories about their personas and coming out, with different stories. It's like, yeah, they are still up here in my head, but it's like, man, they're people too. And I think I met one guy that was kind of my hero for a while I was approaching the ministry. I was an intern, and I was at this conference. I got to ask these guys questions. His name was Doug Wilson. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Oh, name sounds familiar.
So yeah, I was at a conference. I was an intern at the church where the conference was going on. He was this well-known, outspoken guy in the Christian world, still is, right? Very controversial on certain things, and I had an opportunity to go up and start talking to him. And the image in my mind versus the guy I met were seemed like two completely different things, and I was let down in my head. Like he was way up here, and then the reality comes crashing down, and I'm like, I reflected on that for about a day, and I was like, why am I so let down? I'm like, oh, problem's not him, the problem's me.
Nick, that's amazing. I have it written down here. One of the issues with the heroes and what we do today is we place our expectations upon them in which they never expected or were expected to meet those. We place our own expectations on our heroes.
It's a
That's where
covert
you
contract.
can really, exactly. It's a covert one-way contract that they can never meet. It's kind of what I'm Not Your Guru was all about with Tony Robbins. It's a really strange thing that us humans do when we admire someone too much or idolize them. They have these certain expectations which they will never meet in person. They're better off at an arm's length. Wow. Thanks, Nick.
I did choke up a little bit when I met George Bruno for the first time, but it was more like a grandfather or uncle I hadn't seen in forever kind of feeling, not a hero, because I was going through a very dark time and he helped me. And so when I finally got to meet him in person and hug him, that was very emotional for me, but he didn't let me down because I saw him as like, grandfather or an uncle.
What MLD pretty much did for me after my first phone call with him. He's like, I'm not your hero. I'm just here to give you some advice. And then I finally met him in person like 6 months later, and super chill. Like I wasn't as nervous as I would have been if I never had that phone call with him and had coaching from him.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned George, Mike. Like, it's funny because he messaged me this morning. I'll be going out to Philly, it looks like, on the 19th of April
for some gay dating.
No, for a conference with George Bruno. He hit me up. He wanted me to come with them. It was pretty neat. He's a good guy. He reached out to me too when I was going through some stuff. Now, Nick, now it would be kind of like idolization. We do with these heroes. We elevate them and we kind of put them in a position, and outside of the biblical world of it, idolizing anybody. And as Thor mentioned, we put these false expectations upon them. We have only destined ourselves for failure. Would you agree?
It's like you have these people set up in your mind, and they can never live up to whatever your heart has set them to be, and you're going to be let down.
But it's fun as hell.
You set yourself up. It's like pedestalizing women. I mean,
it's fun though. It's
shots fired.
I'm actually glad that he actually brought that up, because I was wondering, is this a trait that men just seem to struggle with? Because it's like, do we have this like desire to pedestalize people? Either we pedestalize our hero or we pedestalize the women in our lives, and we both see that neither one of them, anytime we pedestalize somebody, it doesn't work out. So why does it seem like we're prone to do this?
It could be built into our genes. There was research done on something called the God gene or the worship gene. It seems to be prevalent in us humans. I don't have the research at my fingertips, but I have seen quite a bit on this that leans me in the direction that us as human beings, not to be too esoteric, but we have to lean in that direction to feel complete.
Well, and as men, we gravitate towards hierarchy. and meritocracy.
Mm.
So if someone makes more money than us, if someone's stronger than us, if someone has a higher social status than us,
Could be.
we have a tendency to gravitate towards them, and we place them above ourselves, even though they may be the most humble person on the planet.
Yeah, we created ourselves, and that might be the reason why we also pedestalize or idolize mediocre poon.
Mm.
You guys have heard that before, right?
SIMP.
That is the simp moniker.
Well, see, and that's interesting. So, Thor, let's get into these 7 skills,
Okay.
because I think a lot of guys probably don't even realize that they may have these 7, one or two or a few of these 7 skills already, and they kind of write them off.
Well, let's hold that thought, because look, let me just recognize the chat, and then maybe I wanted to hear the other guys what they were hero. Did we get through all the guys on their heroes?
I don't think we got AJ's hero,
and we didn't get yours.
Well, my hero has always been myself.
Shout out.
That is not true. That is not true.
Shout out to
Glenn.
the chat. Thanks, guys. Yeah. But
Let's
then
go
let's get back to we'll get back to the skills, but I want to hear the rest of them.
Well, let's say shout out to Plutart, who's in the
Yep.
building. We'll be
Elena.
seeing you shortly. And the Russian spy.
The Gumby, damn it.
Gumby.
I seen him too. So shout out to the guys in the chat and the gals too, especially.
Mike Zane is in the building. I know we got Base Oracle in here. Hello, sir. P Dubs.
Yeah, a long time listener.
Yeah. One of the OGs, triple
Well,
OGs.
we got to meet him when.
Is this the real nurse chick, or is this Paul pretending to be nurse chick? Like that one time, AJ. You remember that one time?
Oh yeah.
So
That one time we did that video together.
did Paul
Yeah.
get on his nurse chick's account and start sending you stuff?
Oh yeah.
I think Nurse Chick's fake now, man, because I think it's Paul the whole
Yeah.
entire time, just posing as a Nurse Chick.
That's a smart move, though, if you think about it.
Because like she would not let out any dirt on him, and she was only
Nice.
praising him. I was like, you know what? This sounds like Paul.
Yeah, and it covers the pre-selection part because Paul has this Nurse Chick who is now in the comment section, so it must mean that he's taken. So all the other girls are going to come after Paul now. Actually, smart move by him.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, preconditioning as well. Yeah, run strong.
Shout out to Phil Brad in the building. All right. And
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's go back to AJ. AJ, who was your hero growing up?
Oh man, I had a lot of different like heroes, like because I was in like the nerd world, so like going back way back for some of you older guys, like I liked Darkwing Duck and like what the heck, Launchpad, man. Launchpad was freaking awesome. You know, he's the butt of all the jokes. I looked up to that
Crashes
guy
all the time, though.
but
Problems
he
with
did so
attitude?
much. He did his best to make sure everything got there safely.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. I would say for me, my hero growing up was probably it's always been Wolverine. Wolverine was always my favorite X-Men character because he was just like this grumpy bastard that just really he didn't really want to help people, but he helped them because
I see no
You know.
resemblance whatsoever, Glenn.
he was like the anti-hero. Like
Narrowing.
Wolverine was like the original anti-hero.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good.
Thor, who was yours? Like, I mean, way back when, I know they didn't even have cartoons back then. They probably didn't even have TVs back then. Did you guys create stick figures to be your heroes?
Yes, of course. But, we'll start with the Wayback Machine and we'll work towards the one most important. So it was obviously going to be Gumby. Then it was G.I. Joe. And then Captain Kirk stood above all the rest, of course. And then we had Clint Eastwood. We had Charles Bronson. And the list goes on but the most important one was Odin. R.I.P. Odin, my father. So he introduced me to a lot of these things, and he made some important demonstrations in my life that set who I was. And I think for every child, especially the daughters, that the fathers must be the hero. They have to do this, and they have to set the tone for the standards for them in life. With the young man, he would show me these heroes, and he liked them too. And there was a lot of good films in the day, but he also told me that these guys are great and they're fantastic, but never idolize them above yourself. Why, Dad? Why would we not do that? It's fun to idolize above yourself. And that's true. It gives you an escape to think these guys are amazing, almost godlike. And he says, because in reality, you have all the same opportunities, but they're not like us. We are actually quite a bit smarter, quite a bit better. And he instilled in me a drive to move forward and achieve better things than my heroes did. And that's the truth. Now, I still wanted to slip back and really admire them, the modern heroes and things like that. But I think fathers are super important to set that tone of what a hero can be. They're not only a hero, but they're a mentor, and they're your father. There's something quite a bit different. And he instilled confidence, because he said, no matter how weak you feel and how down you are, you're something more than the heroes that you're idolizing. You're something much, much better than that. And you have to believe it, because when you believe it, you can achieve it. And I got that from very early on. And it made a huge difference, because I was kind of a weakling as a child and as a teenager.
No,
I didn't come into my own until I was probably 17 years old and started hit my full heights and strength and all of that. Yeah. So no, actually, I was actually born 4 pounds and 4 ounces. Spent my first 4 months in an incubator. So it was
really,
I was pretty weak as a child because of that. But yeah, body's an amazing thing,
Have anybody created a hero out of somebody that they may have met? I think Mike, or who was it, that said they were let down by somebody? Oh, Nick, you said you met somebody that you kind of met a hero out of them, and they let you down. Besides Nick, anybody else experience that?
Oh, sure. I mean, on some level, somebody even in business that I admired for their track record, and kind of built it up in my mind that I wanted to do that. And in reality, they were just, bare ass lucky, And so I had to rethink my position. It wasn't too disappointing, but I've had that happen before. And it just makes me realize, well, shoot, if it was, that could be me in those shoes, and so in my mind, I built something up that wasn't there.
Has anybody made a hero out of you? And how did you ever address that, guys? Have you guys, anybody kind of elevated you, and how did you take that?
Well,
yeah, it definitely has happened. And it's one of those
you
things that,
out of all people.
And I don't like people falling.
Hey, I worship Huds.
Not like they're falling into a trap, but I don't want that mindset. So as soon as it starts to happen, yes, I appreciate the kind words that I then am getting thrown all the time, but I go ahead and check them. I think that's the most important thing you can do when somebody starts to idolize you, is to bring them back to reality and let them know, look, I'm no different than you. I really am not. And it's steering them away from that idolization that I think is it's the problem here.
But there's also, you have to be careful with that, because then you do present a false sense of humility, because you're not just like them. You are you. Your experiences have shaped you. You have, the things that you have encountered in life has molded you, or has fostered your character to become who you are today. You have the trials and tribulations that you've experienced in life has made you who you are. So you are unique. You are different to a degree than they are. So isn't that you got to be careful with that, saying oh, I'm just like you, I'm no different than you, because then you're presenting a false reality to them, because now you're kind of setting them up maybe for failure if they take that well, I could be just like them. He said I'm just like them. Do you see?
I understand what you're saying, but I guess my question to you then is, how would you approach it then? If somebody is throwing these words at you, and you want to make sure that they're on the right path, and you want them to have the understanding that look, I am just like you, but just at a different point of time. You have.
I'll just tell everybody.
There you go.
Yeah.
I tell everybody, you don't want me to be your hero. I fucked up a lot of shit. I'm the best at fucking shit up. So if you want a hero to fuck it up, Go ahead, follow me. I will lead you to fuck upville. You know,
Yeah, Glenn's my hero for showing up
No,
on the time.
that's for sure. I think it's a matter of well, you know what our motto is here on the Dragon Ship. It's to lift them up, and if they think that and they get to know you, they're going to stop idolizing you and actually take action. And so, really, engagement with someone that's idolizing you, you can affect them a lot. You can either become a cult of personality, which
Mhm.
many do, and we've known those that do. A cult of personality is a dangerous thing. It's a crazy thing, except whoever is that cult leader is living the life at the expense of others. At many times, talk about the ultimate mental point of origin, right? Living at the expense of others, or you can choose a different path. Whereas, you know what? I understand that you appreciate all these things. You're different than me, but only in experiences and in the earth suit that we wear. Other than that, every opportunity that's ever existed for me totally exists for you. And you guys have heard me make those comments privately.
yeah.
And if you're struggling with finding those opportunities, that's where I can come in and help you find them. But you're not going to lick my boots. You're going to be in a position to stand as a peer with me on the dragon ship, and we'll lift our shields together. That's kind of my approach in a philosophic or esoteric way.
And I would say that's
I like that.
a much like humbler but also realistic approach, because
Not humble,
when
but
you're not
honest.
honest, yeah, because you're not setting them up for failure that way.
Yeah.
Because I think when guys have that cult like approach to it, um, it goes from how can I benefit them to how can they benefit me, and I think it's a real slippery slope. And honestly, I don't necessarily blame them so much, because when you get guys that are inspirational, or they provided some, usefulness, and their information has like impacted your life, whether it's a football coach, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a pastor, whoever the case is, you end up looking at this person as like, I want to become some, like, I wish I want to be a man just like them, or like Wes Wilker, or who's the other guy, Jocko Wilkes, or Jocko, that guy, 4 a.m. guy, the 4 a.m. guy in the,
Yep.
yeah, like there, I know people like, man, I want to be just like Jocko, and I'm like, you can never be just like Jocko,
Dave
because
Goggins, yeah.
you never been through Jocko's life. The best thing that you could do is take the principles and lessons that he teaches and apply them to your life, and not try to become him.
Right.
You got to be careful in not losing who you are, the individual, for the sake of trying to mirror someone else. You don't want to be the next Thor. You want to be the first original you.
There's a book that 3/4 of it's all about doing that for yourself.
Oh, what is it called?
It's a dominant masculine presence. So there is a book that details that, and why when you complete this journey, you'll go through the emotional regulation at the end, and that'll save you from that. And that's where where it's so genuine. Even if you started out faking it till you make it, it ends up being so genuine, it becomes you through and through. And that pays you huge benefits when you start to apply those skills. People know fake people.
Yeah.
I've been, there's one guy in Beer Club, Paul Bauer's group, that he's kind of like started to say things like that, like I look up to you and stuff like that. And the very first time I heard it, it was a little weird. But then what I told the guy was, I believe in you because I was you.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm helping this guy out, and he's socially awkward. He had anime girl stickers on his car, and he was wondering why maybe he wasn't getting any luck with the ladies. I'm like, well, the first thing you got to do is you got to take those anime chicks off your car, dude. You can't be having anime chicks on your car hood and stuff like that. And he's like, okay, done. And he did it. He didn't question it. He just did it. And I told him I believe in him because I was that guy. I was the guy with like really weird stuff on my car and hanging on my walls and stuff like that. And so that's why when I say that he and I are the same, it's because I was you, now I'm here. I don't want you to be here because this is me, but there's a spot over there, out there somewhere, where you can be a better version of you.
I want to throw this at Nick, because I mean, he has a unique position. I mean, he literally led a group of people. He was a pastor. You know, did you ever come across that like problem where like young men or young people would like, you know, like Pastor Nick, you know, like anything like that, like they kind of like elevate you a little bit, like you were the guy?
Yeah, some of the kids in church tended to do that. The adults, not so much. Most of the congregation was older than me, all the adults, so I was kind of the younger guy. But the the younger kids, yeah, they did tend to look up to me, and it kind of goes through my head what they think now.
Did you feel that you had a responsibility to them, or did you feel like there
I
was
did.
something you did? Thor,
I did.
that's like, isn't that a problem like for guys that get elevated in that position? Like they start thinking that now they have a responsibility for these people, and it's like, well, then now you are not so much in your own frame anymore. Now you're on now into the frame of those that look up to you.
There's two paths there. There's definitely two paths that you can follow there. And you know, as a power lineman trainer, I've had to deal with a little of this sometimes, but not too often. But there's two paths there, whereas you really feel responsible for them. So as that guy, you start to bring on their emotions, their struggles, all that stuff. And you know, some therapists have problems with that because they're listening to that all the time. The other way is you start to drink your own Kool-Aid. Look how badass I am. These people are doing things for me. And I start using my fans, or using the people that admire me, for stuff for free. And you know, like it or not, all our relationships are based on exchange, and it's a mutually beneficial exchange is the best. But you can really jump ahead by having a large cadre of admirers and just jumping from one to the next and extracting whatever's useful from them for you. And that's when you start to drink your own Kool-Aid and think you are that guy. And you can see extreme examples of that throughout history. So yeah, there is truth into, man, he's drinking his own Kool-Aid. There is.
Yeah. I think we've all like sometime in life we've probably seen somebody that has like done that, whether it's like the quarterback from the football team, or you know, like whatever star athlete that there was, or somebody that we know in life, they have done that. And the fall is pretty bad. And you know what? It's not always their fault. That's what I've come to the conclusion, because no matter what, I could say I'm a hero all I want. That doesn't make me your hero. It's the people that elevate you to this status really make you that hero. And they set you up for failure as much as you set yourself up for failure by accepting it at some point. So to avoid that, I encourage everybody to go out there, go to Amazon, and get Thor's book, A Dominant Masculine Presence, so you can learn the 7 skills so you could become your own hero. Thor, let's kind of get into this. How did you come up with these 7 skills?
I started to realize that there was a issue in our space with, and it's not an issue that I'm talking bad about, but we fixated as a group on the socio-sexual hierarchy that Vox Day put out, which, by the way, that was good work. We had nothing before. It came from, you know, the pickup artists, and the fact that there was animal research done in wolves and other mammals, that there was a hierarchy of sexuality, not only between men or males and females, but between the males themselves. And this was called alpha, beta, delta, gamma, omega. And then later on, somebody came up with the sigma thing, which has become a whole different thing. But it was quick and easy. Oh, look at those beta guys. And we could see some of this happening in chimpanzees too. You could see there was a dominant alpha type of male in groups, and then all the other males were subservient. And they were described as betas. But I saw that was actually not complete when it comes to human beings, because you can have males that expressed a lot of what we would call beta traits that were assigned to them from that hierarchy, and yet that they didn't present any of this in their lives as we looked inward. It was something different. They definitely didn't express openly alpha traits, so it made it really kind of incomplete. So I started digging into it more and more, and I asked the question, what actually makes a man able to dominate and project his presence everywhere he goes to his success and the success of others? That's really what started me on that path. And I noticed those 7 skills show up over and over again in some form, from at least 3 of them being above average in one man to like 5 and 6. And when I start talking 5 and 6 of these, like them or hate these guys, I'll just use 2 examples that everybody's going to know right now: Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Many have called these guys beta in the fact that they associate their personal lives with females as they're beta because they behave in such a way. That's a really incomplete way of looking at it. We'll use Jeff Bezos, for example. He got divorce raped, and then he had the typical single mother or older woman swoop in there. Many have called him a gold digger or whatever, reacquire him as some sort of rebound. And it looked like he was being quite beta. But if you think about his life, this guy expresses stuff, that certainly falls into those 7 skills. And you can identify him easily: prosperity, problem solving. He definitely has psychology with his employees. He understands the basics there, if not at an advanced level. And he has passion. And with passion, he can drive those other skills. And that puts him in a place where you can't deny that in most of his life, and maybe even parts of his personal life, he is a dominant masculine presence and projects that. Move over to an Elon Musk, Glenn. Look at this guy. Because he dated Amber Heard and had some funky relationships, he was a beta. We've had guys in this space cry out to him, "You're a beta. You need us. You need us." I think he's on a level that most of us don't even understand. And
yeah, he goes to the outer space.
He may have all 7 of these. I'm being really serious about this. And a lot of people call him an asshole, and he acts like an asshole sometimes when he's dealing with employees, but he's probably the asshole that we need. We can learn a lot from it, but he certainly, you can't deny that he is not a dominant masculine presence and has reacquired and worked on his identity and how he projects it. And he knows he's flawed. He's called it himself. It's a blessing and a curse to have what he has. I might have a touch of that too, and it keeps me up at night. It's crazy, but you can't deny that he doesn't have those skills. And that's what I focus on. I think that every man can focus on the skills that he holds close to him and work on 2 at a time, 1 at a time, until you have at least 3 of these where you're above average than most guys. And that's all you really need, because it's going to produce financial success. It's going to produce sexual success and social success, because to work on any of them, you're going to have to go there. If you're a complete recluse, you may not want to do these things. And we can see folks that are reclusive. I have this one guy. He wants to learn by remaining silent and observing. You have to actually put the rubber to the road. You can't win the race if there's no rubber on the track. You got to jump in the arena, and that's a big part of this as well. And I use some examples in the book. I hope that covers what you're asking. I don't want to go on and monologue about that.
I kind of want to go so I want to just go through some of them. So you got problem solving is one of them. And wouldn't you guys say like just generally, just by being men, that should become more of a natural trait? Like that's something that we just kind of naturally have. Men are natural problem solvers.
Dude, I dealt with that with you yesterday. Oh my God.
That is a man's primary agency, though. We've talked about a female's primary agency is her sexuality. I agree with that. You can see that. This is an obvious delineation. So if the case is a woman's problem solve, or her primary agency is her sexuality, what is a man's? Certainly not his sexuality. No, because a man must become. And so it is problem solving skill. And to define it like I do in a part of the book is it's about learning, seeing solutions, possibilities, and probabilities, which is just as important. If not, you have to have the ability to zoom in, focus out, see the big picture. I'm just skimming these things, but problem solving requires a lot of different things: mechanical, 3D spatial, ability to socially interact and create value for yourself and others. That's
Yeah.
a problem solving skill.
Build shit,
That's
fix
it.
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I just let me go ahead, Glenn. I just thought it was funny because I did kind of feel like the girl in our relationship when we were talking yesterday, where I just was sharing something with you, and
Yep.
then you're breaking it down and trying to tell me everything I was supposed to do, and I'm like, Glenn, like,
Ah,
hello, like this is already dealt with. It's already done. Stop trying to give
But
me
no,
solutions.
it's okay. It's normal for me to have you be like the girl in our relationship. It's just a Tuesday.
But I think the question really on problem solving is like, do you naturally try and problem solve as a man, or like do you actually solve problems, or like because some people aren't good at solving problems. So that's kind of what you were talking about, Thor. There's a lot of aspects of it. I just thought it was interesting because I literally experienced this firsthand, and I understand now how my girlfriend feels when I'm like trying to solve problems.
some people don't understand how to solve problems. This is why I would, if I was to prioritize these 7 skills for a man, it would be problem solving is number 1. A lot of people haven't been taught how. You know, I've used the example of how do you eat an elephant, this huge mass of meat. You've heard me say that before. One bite at a time. And you don't start with the tail. You know why you don't start with the tail? Because it tastes like shit and it'll ruin your appetite for the rest. How many of you have fallen into that? And when it comes around problem solving, I don't know what's going on here. Another way to do it is whatever problems you see in front of you, instead of guessing at the answers, cut those answers in half. You got a 50% chance of finding out if it's right or wrong. If it's wrong, you go to the other 50%. Oh, there's something right here. Go that direction, then cut it in half. If you don't get it, go back. And that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is the problems in front of you. And you ask this series of questions. Hey, what could I do? What actions could I take? What thoughts could I give? What interactions can I give that makes this 1000% fucking worse? How do I enhance this problem to the 10th degree? And then your answer is pretty simple. You write those down and then you don't do those things. That's a backwards approach to problem solving that sometimes breaks the barrier for someone to start to really understand how to solve problems. You know, you can use any example you want for something like that. Like, let's use your bank account. Hey, what's the worst that can happen? Oh, I go bankrupt. Well, what can I do to make that even worse? Stop
Gamble.
opening credit cards, stop gambling, or go and gamble. Open some new credit cards, combine some debt, and then go open new accounts so I have more money. You'd be surprised, because if you don't do those things, then maybe you're going to get better. So it's just a different way to try to come up with problem solving and help people. But you'll be surprised how many people don't. As a female, if you pay attention, they like to talk and we want to solve problems. Most of the time, they just want us to hear, but they also want us to have the intuitive capability of knowing when to solve their problems. And if you figure that out, you've got something that's akin to gold.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That is so true. It's funny, the other day. Like it's so cool to see it like in real life. Like I was having a conversation with a girlfriend and she was like she's like, oh, did I tell you about this? And I was like, yeah, you already told me. Like, or she didn't even ask if she already told. She was just going to tell me the same story that she literally told me 2 days before. And I was like, you already told me that. And she just shut down. And then I just paused and I turned back to her and was like, but would you like to tell me again? And she loved it. And she went even in more detail. And then afterwards, just like gave me a big hug and a kiss. And was like, thank you. That's all I wanted.
Nice.
Yeah. So what would you say the next important skill is?
The next important skills is well, it's kind of a toss up, really. I mean, I wouldn't want to prioritize them, but if I was going to, it'd be a toss up between passion, which can drive you and be the ultimate motivator, and or physicality. But even if you're disabled, there is something you do physically. Something about taking action physically is so important to us. It removes depression. It gives you an action where things might seem hopeless and you're trapped, but you can move one finger and I'm stuck and I'm here. physicality is just enough to when you hear something and you don't like it, you can just go like this. And if you can just do that, that's one action and it makes things better. So that's a toss up between passion and physicality.
So let's kind of dive into both of them. So when you say physicality, you're not just talking about physical fitness, like working, but physicality as in the ability to do the things that you ought to do without need of assistance or, you know, to be able to complete the task.
It's just like it sounds. It's your ability to be physical and function to an above average level. And no matter where you're at, you want to be above average for your peer group. This doesn't mean you have to be super buff or anything like that, but you have to understand that to do anything at base level here, you have to maximize your physical capabilities. This does something to your mind when you can do that. Regardless of your skill level, when you can master your physicality, this changes things. Even, you know, everywhere in your life, when you can master that, that changes things for you. That's why physicality is important. And
I agree.
Projecting who you are at a distance.
Yeah, no, I agree. Because when I got out of the military and I got injured, I gained a lot of weight and I was really depressed. My head wasn't right, you know, and it wasn't until like I started getting back into shape, I decided to compete. And the next thing you know, like I take that confidence and that discipline that I learned in competing and applied it to other areas in my life. And I started seeing success in those areas. But where did I get the confidence from to even step out and do those things? Well, it was from the training in the gym and seeing that growth and that success in that arena that allowed me to have the confidence to apply it in other arenas, you know. So physicality is important, but it also ties in with your passions too, you know. Like if you're trying to be physically fit, if you're trying to stay in shape, if you're trying to compete like I was doing at the time, that was a passion. Being around long enough to see my kids grow up and see my grandkids, that's a passion, right? You got to be physically fit and capable and healthy to be able to do that. So I could see how physicality and passion could go hand in hand because, well, one, you won't be able to complete your passions really if you're not physically capable to do so.
Yeah. I bet you everybody on this panel has that experience.
Yeah.
With physicality, you know.
So right there, there's three.
I messed up on my physicality and it messed up my passion. So
yeah, tell me about that. That's why it's kind of a toss up
Yeah.
for me because I've seen guys use their passion to get motivated. But then if your physicality sinks, man, blood sugars go up, shit starts happening, you know.
yeah, man. You know, I'm still finishing up my divorce, but I got fat. And part of it was due to depression. But you know, I was being also I had no frame. I was a lazy piece of crap.
Well, let's be politically correct. You're a bit corpulent, huh?
Yeah, and I'm still a work in progress.
No, I think all of us have been there for sure.
But you know that's a good. That explains why she stepped out, and explains why part of why stuff happened to me, why I got thrown under the bus. You know why that ministry ended is you lack the physicality. It's not the only factor, but that was one of the factors. And it was interesting once I started getting in the gym. You know, my mood started to change. You know, had a more positive outlook in life. I started having a frame again. I didn't really care. You know, you only have enough F's to give.
Yeah.
And then the ladies start paying attention to me. Something I hadn't had in like 11 years. It was really
now,
weird.
Nick, you've been so Nick's in my Bible group, right? And we have started in the beginning of the year. I said, all right, guys, we're gonna do like a fitness challenge. And you know, all the guys that want to join to do it, they're able to do it. And you know, my goal is just to keep them accountable to their workouts, and their goal is to do their workouts. But at each quarter, and we're at the end of the first quarter, I'm announcing a winner. So Nick, how much did you whether drop in weight or how much did you increase in your, you know, your workouts? Like what was your starting point and where did you end in this first quarter? And how did that change for you? Because I remember when we were first talking back then, you were an angry gumball.
Well, I was pretty angry. See, I'd gained some weight back over the holidays. I was probably like 283. I don't know. I weighed in. Now I'm like 278, so I didn't literally lose that much, but I gained a bunch in the arms. So
There you go. Some gains.
I gained in the arms, the chest shrunk. I think the gut's shrinking a little bit. Legs are a lot thicker now. So it's a work in progress. I just got to keep going. I need to cut out the beer. That's the next thing.
Yeah, I hear you, brother.
But in that 3 months, like, did you feel like you noticed a change in
I felt
yourself?
better.
Yeah.
I felt better. Yeah.
And did you start like as your physicality started building up, did you experience more passion again for things?
I did. I had more passion. I wasn't as mopey.
So, Glenn,
You get mopey when you don't have that physicality. Then you start making excuses.
well, that's really true. So, I mean, that I'm sure you're going to ask me, Glenn, about what's next because it's really tied to it. And that's presence. I'd like to understand what everybody understands about presence because I define it the way a lot of people do, but I combine it in a way that I think is going to reach men a lot more. When I use how I put it together in the book, the ladies really like it. They call it the vibe. And what is it? You can use this for yourself and you understand more of what you're projecting into the world. This earth suit, the way you behave, the traits and the behaviors and your language, your body language is really all in one. And so it's your ability to be in the moment and command the space around you. Have some authority, congruence, boundaries, grace, manners, and expectations. And then competence where you're competent and increase your competence where you're not. Look, this also, and that's for you even when you're by yourself. But this also speaks to your ability to engage socially and create a social network of friends and acquaintances that bring mutual value to you at any moment in time.
That's awesome.
And it reaches out beyond your physical self. But here's the thing, that presence, when you're doing it right and you enter into a space and there's, say it's a social event, I don't know, there's a lot of girls there, whatever they're doing, and guys and everybody knows when you achieve this because you'll have some people in there that you know, but everybody will know that the big animal entered the room without you having to show off, have imaginary lat syndrome, walking around like this, disclosing.
No peacocks, no peacocking.
Although peacocking can be useful in developing your identity, it is not your end all be all. And you see a lot of guys doing that. You don't do any of that. In fact, when you do that, you become too verbose. And the most dominant masculinely present men in person, I'm not going to say on the internet because that's all about freaking talking, actually say a lot less than is necessary. And because of that, they project their presence much further and command more respect. How do they do that? They do it through the 7 skills.
Yeah. And once you establish presence, you don't need to announce yourself. You don't need to say, I'm alpha. I'm so alpha. I'm the alpha's most alpha guy in this room.
Glenn, you literally do this all the time.
Well, I just got to remind you that you're a peon and
he's
I'm
an actor, so he's advertising for parts.
Exactly. I got roles to play. But Mike, Steele, how has adopting presence benefited you? Because I would say there was a point in time that you were really shaky with presence or being comfortable having presence. So how did you hone that skill and develop your presence?
Stoicism definitely helped.
You bet.
And when you realize that nobody gives a damn about you, because when you think that people are watching you and they're judging you, that's actually ego. It's egotism. It's selfishness. Because you think that people actually care about you and notice you. No, everyone cares and notices themselves. They don't care about you. Once you figure out that nobody's judging you because nobody cares about you, then you can start to settle into yourself and realize, I could rip a fart right now in the middle of Whole Foods and nobody's going to care. And so once I realized that nobody's judging me because nobody's thinking about me, then I stopped judging myself. And I was able to calm down because I'm just like, doesn't matter. And soon I'll be dead. And the sun is going to explode. So who gives a shit? And once I started with the whole who gives a shit, it everything just kind of became blasé in a amusement sense, like when Ryan's book Frame, where he talks about it. Everything either becomes interesting or amusing to you, and it no longer bothers you. So that's when I figured it out, that I was just being selfish by thinking that everyone's judging me all the time, and so the nervousness just went to practically non-existent.
So you just listened to Cher a bunch of times and you're like, you're so vain. You probably think this song is about you. Huh.
No, I bought your album where you do cover songs and it made me want to kill myself. So that's what helped.
Oh, great. AJ.
Speaking of heroes doing things that are odd to dispel their myth, William Shatner sings.
Yes, he does.
Love it.
AJ, I want to get AJ in here. AJ, you're like a little midget man, right? You're like the little like bald leprechaun with the beard, you know.
You're such an asshole, Glenn. What is
Hey, man. I gotta live up to his expectations. So go on, Glenn.
Like, so, but you coming from like a nuke ship, right? You know, you're in the Navy. You guys had to develop presence in a different way, though, right? Like your guys' presence on the ship, like you guys knew what you were. Like you guys were nuke guys. Like nobody really fucked with you guys ever, because if they did, the whole ship goes up. They needed you.
Oh, yeah.
So how did that, like, did you feel like there was a pressure once this presence was on you? Like how did you were able to combat the pressure of the role that you had? Because your role came with a level of presence.
Yeah. Best way to describe that is like early on in our training, about the first half of power school, so about halfway through the curriculum, they kind of train us in a way to make us think like engineers but act like technicians. So we still have that robotic technician muscle memory to react to certain things, but the ability to think outside the box in case those things did not work. So that was kind of like the presence they gave us. Other things that helped me out with my presence, I would actually say a lot, was The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. A lot of you guys know about my last relationship with the crazy. And that book taught me, like, every time there's an argument, even if I felt like I was walking on eggshells, that think back, is this worth it? Like, just sit back and have that third person watch your emotions kind of thing. So that kind of kept me level headed as shit was going downhill fast. Friggin' she's cheating on me and all this other crap.
Yeah. No, I remember we were talking about that. But so the pressure never really kind of like it was crippling. You didn't feel ever feel like it was overwhelming.
They kind of got that out of you at an early time in the Navy, because like if there's a fire on the ship, guess what? You put it out or you're dead. If there's something wrong with the reaction plant, figure it out or you're fucking dead.
So those are just 4. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole 7 today, guys. I encourage you guys, if you want to know all 7, do yourself a favor. Go on Amazon. The link has already been in the chat. You know, get the book. It's a great read. It's what do they call it? It's like an inspirational, but it's not an inspirational. It's like a motivational. It was more. Thor, what would they label it as? Remember we were talking about that? Like it wasn't like a self-help book, but it was more like an inspirational book.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of perennial. It really doesn't speak too much to political, although I've used some examples. I mean, I put it in as men's self-help, but it ended up actually becoming a bestseller in mate seeking, which I didn't put any of those tags in. It's kind of crazy because you know, like Paul's book has nothing to do except he says when he was 18, you know, everything you wish he knew. But he's a bestseller in teenage pregnancy. So who knows how Amazon does
It is the funniest thing in the world to me.
That's
I
one of
love
the funniest damn things. And I love that guy. I wish he was here for this. But yeah, it is intended for particularly men in this space. I don't have my link because I don't have the descriptions up, but you can find a free chapter. Oh, the code is free DMP. And you can find a free audio chapter of these skills on becomedurable.com. It is there, or you can find my Gumroad, which is Red Pill Thor, and it's there. You can go in there. It says $5.99, but as you type it in, free DMP, there you go. You're going to get it for free. And it's essentially an embedded video that you can listen to. It's about 30 minutes long for that chapter. And yours truly narrates it and goes into a lot of the stories around these 7 skills and why I got there.
So you guys, we just like listed 4. So you got problem solving, passion, physicality, and presence. And Thor was saying, if a guy has at least 3 of the 7 skills, he's already on his way.
You'll
right?
become someone's hero.
Yeah. You will be the hero. And as you acquire over time in life, you develop the other 4 skills that you may be lacking or may not have yet. And you just constantly grow and grow. And then you end up becoming your own hero. You don't no longer need to idolize someone else. You don't need to look towards another person to seek their way of doing things. You will have the skill set to trust yourself, to know that you can lead yourself and be your own hero. You know?
So Glenn, let me ask you a question, because I think you can expand on this. You've met a couple of heroes in your life that you held.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them have become your peers and some of them have not. How do you distinguish between those? And why is it good to meet your heroes? Not why is it good to meet. Why is it good?
No, it's good so you're in reality. You're no longer living in the false narrative that you set up. Because as long as you live in that false narrative that you set up, you will, fail at times. But the other thing that is good that you actually meet your heroes, because when your heroes become, or your mentors or your heroes or the people you look up to actually become better than who you thought they were originally, you're like, wow, you actually are more encouraged, and there's more of an understanding there. And who knows, they end up becoming like your surrogate dad, and you're at their house every weekend, and you're sleeping on their couch and they're stealing their food, like but you're able to develop a good relationship. You can see things better. It's tough, but it's good to also meet your heroes and they fail you, and that's okay too, because now you understand who they really are, and that's okay as long as you're no longer believing the false narrative that you created.
Yes, that's what I wanted to get at. You create.
Yep.
This is very beneficial if you understand this and you're listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that we don't realize is as time goes on, we are building a more and more false reality of certain people. And we need to pay attention to, what we're creating. And that's why meeting your heroes sometimes kind of resets you, as you were saying, Glenn. It resets you back to like reality, not the reality that you've been slowly creating in your head.
Yeah, let's go ahead and thank Pi here for his super chat, $1.99. Let's get him can we get him a war horn?
Let me see here, guys. Bear with me for a second. And here we go. Thank you, Pi. I appreciate that. Remember, everybody that's watching, We would love to have a super thanks or super chat to any of the channels that this is broadcast on. Everybody's up and ready to accept them. It helps keep us rolling and pays for some of the expenses, because this StreamYard stuff and the stuff that goes behind it is not super cheap, but it keeps us floating. Appreciate that so much.
And Pi says here,
Oh, is there another one?
no, we haven't read it yet.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
So Pi says, I had to have the self-respect to become my own. And I'm sure what he means by that is his own hero.
Yeah.
That's very interesting that he says self-respect. You know, because we talk about frame and mental point of origin, but he used the term self-respect. Glenn, what do you think about that? You're muted, Glenn.
I think, you know, in order to have frame, you have to have the self-respect for yourself. You have to have that. You can't have frame without having self-respect. So I think what he's getting at is like, I know in order for me to live in my frame, I have to respect myself enough to live by my own boundaries, to live by be my own mental point of origin, rather than letting someone else take that role.
And Pi, if you're still in the chat, let us know in the regular chat when this happened and your self-respect got to the point that you became your own hero. Did your life improve? Like, did your life improve financially, romantically? Did you notice any other improvements when you did that? Let us know in the chat.
Well, that's interesting. So what's real interesting is in the church, what are the most Christian men are taught to do the opposite, to be bottom of the barrel, to not think of themselves at all,
To be a
to be the
servant leader.
doormat.
Plow horse.
Yeah. And so it's they're taught the opposite while
Yet
pedestalizing women.
Yet we forget, yes, Jesus washed feet, but
He
he
didn't
also
kiss them like the Pope.
but he washed feet, but he also told them dudes what to do. And when they doubted him, he chastised them like, look, I'm trying to lead you here. I'm telling you to get out of the boat and walk on the water, and you don't trust me? The heck is wrong with you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is interesting, Nick, that you point that out, because they do tell us, like, you know, they preach it, they beat it in your head that if to be a good leader, you're going to be a slave. You got to be there. You got to be beneath them and serve them. And we know how that worked out, right? Doesn't work out, you know. I think Thor would say you need to be was it a translational leader?
No. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Where did I have that? It's an inspirational leadership style is the best way to go, or a transformational leader.
Transformational leader. That's what it was.
That is a style of leadership as opposed to servant leader, right?
Yeah.
And they're not always well liked. We'll use Elon Musk. Can't you say it's a transformational leadership style? Those are important. That's where the most progress and ultimately the most respect lie, not with the servant leader, contrary to popular belief.
And
These guys get stuff done. Your servant leaders tend to follow the trends and what's popular.
And have you also noticed with Musk, like, yeah, he gets all the attention and the spotlight, but you know what? The people directly underneath him, I bet they're grateful for when things go wrong, like with a rocket launch or a Tesla. Guess who takes all the heat and all the blame? Musk.
Yeah. If you haven't, I'd highly recommend his latest biography. You know, it pulls no punches, and he's willing to put that out. So, I mean, gotta give tons of respect for something like that, like it or hate it.
Yeah. No, I agree. Well, you guys, I think we covered a good chunk of this topic. I mean, I knew we weren't going to get through it all today because there's so much to go into, but I think we covered at least why men shouldn't, you know, it's okay to have leaders, but don't look to them as becoming your mental point of origin. Don't defer, you know, decisions or worry about what they would do or what they would think of you. if you admire somebody for their work ethic or their skills or their with success in whatever area in their life, that's great. You could apply those traits and those techniques that they talk about, that they've used, that it helped them get there, and that's fine, but make them your own. Take what is, just like the red pill, take the good tools that you find useful and apply them to your life and be successful and build yourself up to be the dominant masculine man for your life, not the version of the 2.0 version of Andrew Tate or the 2.0 version of Huds, but the 2.0 version of you. Become the best version of you. So with that being said, I'm going to go around the horn, starting with the gay dating coach out of Philly. What do you got going on?
Nothing crazy to share. Just if you guys want to reach out, you need any dating advice, I'll definitely help you out at least a little bit for free. And if you want to schedule a call, best way to reach me is on Instagram at the Hudsman. That's really it.
Awesome. Mike Steele.
Thank you very much, Glenn. You guys can find me on Instagram and X, the ats right there in the corner. And to kind of wrap up what Glenn was saying about, don't try to be Andrew Tate or Thor or even Glenn, because if you try to be Glenn, you'll probably end up dead if you're not as strong as him. But
That's
be the 2.0 version of yourself. And I wanted to finish with this. That's why if you look on my X account, if you go to my profile, there's a reason. That's the reason why it says patching in progress. Please wait.
And you got anything going on this week? Any streams or anything you're doing?
No, just waiting on AJ to get his ass over here. I've got a YouTube meetup with the Friday Night Tights crew. So like Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, those guys.
Big fan. I'm a big fan, man.
Well, you got your Nerdrotics? You get on Nerdrotics with those guys?
I'm not invited. Okay, I want to be careful. I'm meeting up with them. They're having a meetup here in Vegas.
Yep.
And I get to go hang out with them, but I'm not like on their channel or anything.
I've enjoyed that for a long time.
Thor just like showed me their channel. I started like binge watching them. They're awesome.
Yeah, I was a fan of Gary's from the beginning. Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, Gary and D-Day and all those guys, they'll be out here in Vegas in 2 weeks. And then I got a bachelorette party I'm assisting with after that. And then sounds like
Are you the stripper?
Yeah,
No.
I was gonna ask Mike, are you the stripper?
No, I'm not that magic, but no, I'm just looking after the gals, make sure they don't get into too much trouble. I'm doing it for an old friend who I've known for a while, but and then Donovan, assuming he gets better, he's also coming out here in April. So
excellent.
Yes. Actually, him and we have talked about that. So he's coming out to California too.
cool.
Why don't you guys wait till May? Then I can travel.
Well, he's coming out here for
cool.
us in April.
Come on. I'm getting too tired. All right.
Nick, what do you got going on? What do you do? What do you say? You piss people off on Twitter too, I see.
I do that. Yeah. Well, this week I'm home for like a week, so I'll be doing accounting and different things. I'll probably do some. I'm working on a couple books. I probably need to contact that that editor you sent me the info this week as well. So I'll probably send something out on my YouTube channel this week. Probably some short clip about some theology and men and women theology. Probably how it interacts with the red pill. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
AJ, my favorite leprechaun.
What do I got going on? So this Wednesday I'll be on the Masculine Geek channel again. Shout out to Vince. Love you, man. And thank you, Thor, for pretty much allowing me to get into contact with Vince like that. We're going to be going over motorcycle maintenance on the Wednesday night stream of Masculine Geek. I should have a live stream coming up soon of Rhinestone's Frame. And then shortly after that, I'll be doing a follow-up live stream review of Dread from Rhinestone. Other than that, we've got nothing else going on.
Nice. Thor.
Yes, sir.
striking any lightning besides all this rain in California? What do you got going on?
It's pretty rainy. Drive safe. I need your help, son. So that'll work out just well. Just search RP Thor on the internet if you need anything. Happy to help if you reach out, all that sort of thing. So, Skull, good job,
You want
by
to
the
tell
way.
them about
Glenn, thank you for hosting today.
No problem. You don't want to tell them about what we've been doing, cooking up in over there?
I'll save that for you, son.
All right. So what we've been doing, you guys, we've been working on a little project behind the scenes. We've been working on a documentary with Thor, and he's giving us some good old man wisdom. And we've been having some of his friends like Sterling Cooper and Aaron Clary so far come over and also videotape some, one-on-one with him. And it's really good content. We're starting to compile it. We got 3 episodes of like this documentary series as like a father to son type of talk, and it's a really fascinating, like just episode so far. You kind of see just things and conversations that are just natural, but if we go more further into the red pill, we don't need some topics. We don't even talk about the red pill. And I think it's something that this space or just men have been missing in general. And I can't tell you enough how excited I am that once we get to the point we start releasing it, we will be releasing it all on becomedurable.com. They will be for purchase. These are all going to be behind a paywall, just so you know. None of these will be on YouTube. We might make commercials or clips for them on YouTube, but to get the full episode, you're going to need to go to becomedurable.com and purchase them there. What I got going on? Well, let's see. I got this Russian spy here, in town, and I got to take her up to see Thor here shortly. So I have to do that and have her not talk my ear off.
Name this horse.
Oh, dang it. She's already hearing me. Oh, she's in the chat too. Good Lord, I can never get rid of her. No, we got Elena and her husband Plutarch here. I'm gonna go spend some time with them, take them up to see Thor, do a little shoot some content, and same thing that we do every weekend. Try to take over the world. So stay tuned. I got some stuff dropping. But yeah, let's go out with Thor's book ad real quick. And I think this is it, right? Thor book ad final. Is that what it is?
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Until next Saturday, same bat time, same bat channel. Skull.
Life is a journey filled with twists and turns. Why is it that essential life lessons...
Masculinity is in crisis. What are we to do? We need to acquire a dominant masculine presence. Now available on Amazon. Masculinity is in crisis. Men's masculine behaviors and traits have been suppressed by popular culture. Why has it become so popular to shame, guilt, insult, masculinity, and masculine behaviors? After 50 to 70 years of this has resulted in a very large subset of men who have become weak, useless, and crisis. Pathetic state for boys and men that leads to depression and violent despair. A dominant masculine presence addresses this very dilemma for the individual man, and it firmly establishes why this is what is desperately needed by the individual man today. In this book, clearly defined masculine traits and behaviors and the emotional durability provided by traditional masculinity are presented as a guide to what every man should embed into his identity. Putting these principles and behaviors into practice will motivate and direct your path step to step to create for yourself an authentic, dominant masculine presence.